Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Daily Footy and Other Sports with yours truly, Taz, and of course Sean, wearing a Peter Griffin top today, um, the way he shops. As promised, today we are going to discuss, we're going to have a discussion, I guess, about who we feel should be the Premier League manager of the season. Where do we start? Do you reckon it's a conversation between just two people, or should more people be involved in the conversation?
So so when we're just the manager of the year, we have to do a comparative issue of why they deserve to be the manager compared to the others. And what the problem we have today is we've got two guys that have just gone well beyond expectations, well beyond the limits of what a club should be doing, of their club that should be doing, what they should be performing, the level they should be performing. They've just taken it up beyond expectations. But the other side we have to look at as well, has the other clubs given them a false sense of superiority complex for both clubs, that of in regards to the managers as well, that we will be discussing in particular.
So you're just saying we've got a two-person discussion. Is that what you're saying? In effect.
Well, yes. I'm going to throw two other names there,
Okay.
but they only had a short impact. But there are two other names that I would perhaps like to discuss, and then there's also another manager I would discuss later on. But he initially started the season quite poorly, so. The reason why I want to mention this, we don't want to jump on the bandwagon. Here, what me and Taz are about is creative thinking. We're thinking that we're given our point of views rather than being any form of regurgitation. We're not Sky Sports, we're not BBC. We're guys that love the sports and just want to discuss.
Who are they? You
Okay,
just said you got two others. So who are the others? So for the record,
so
I think that I mentioned at the end of the last video. Sean and I firmly believe that the two that should be in the main part of the conversation are obviously Jurgen Klopp and Wilder. But obviously Sean's just said he's got two others. So who are they?
okay. Other two that we could say that if they had a bit more time, we could say that they'll arguably contenders themselves. So you have to just look at Everton. Marcus Silva had a unfortunate end to his time at Everton. A
Okay.
player that had a club that had good investment, but they had injuries and they weren't following. What happens with Silva? Like, he has good starts and then he's not able to consistently follow it up. Maybe that was the reason why his Watford career ended so abruptly itself. And therefore, we saw two managers join Everton. Duncan Ferguson was a complete revelation. A guy that you would think who wouldn't be so happy when you used to watch him play football. Probably a guy that could have not made the top 11 of our the other episode we did beforehand. He was such a grumpy, aggressive guy, but when he started as a caretaker manager against Arsenal, against Chelsea, he made Everton work like a great unit, and he was hugging everyone. He did the
Did,
tough calls of
did you not
yeah.
see him? Did you not see him at the side of the pitch? He was still shouting. He still had that angry look on his face. He can't take the Duncan Ferguson. He was
That's
still the
true.
same.
That's true. You can't.
But no,
You can't take.
no, he just very quickly realized that he had to bring the passion, non-stop energy that he was brought to the pitch for the team because they really started losing that. And maybe that and having a caretaker manager who's you know I wasn't going to say homegrown, um, loves the club so much. You're surrounded by those kinds of managers. Right? Yeah, United got Solskjaer, Lampard at Chelsea. Um, even those short spells. I mean, he literally was there for a game or two. Those short spells just get something else out of the players. Giggsy and Shearer probably had one conversion sort of, lined up for their periods as managers. But aside from them, caretaker managers, they tend to get something else out of them. And that's exactly what he had to play with.
You can definitely argue in that as well. Maybe Duncan Ferguson had more time, he would have the inevitable downfall that Shearer actually Shearer had at the end, as Giggs did as well. Giggs was on a good run, and then he had another loss, and then he wasn't considered of being the replacement, and LVG came in, and that ended Giggs' hopes of being the next solution for Man United, as was Shearer, who always blames Michael Owen rather than Steve McClaren for Newcastle's downfall. That could have been the issue for Everton, but nevertheless, Duncan Ferguson had difficult opponents, came out with flying colours, and it was such a stark contrast. And as you said, yes, it was a homegrown manager, but at the same time, sometimes people are more up for it to play for a new manager. But Richarlison, he's apparently Marco Silva's pet, or in the sense that he was Marco Silva's homegrown. It was his project. He was the guy. He went to Watford because of Marco Silva, followed him to Everton, but he seemed like he's an Everton boy. That's why Barcelona went for him for £90 million, and that's a lot towards Duncan Ferguson rather than Ancelotti, who is the other guy I would like to mention as well, because Everton have gone up the Premier League table, no longer in contention for relegation, and you have to give him a lot of plaudits. But unfortunately for Ancelotti, like against Arsenal, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I assume when you're talking about Ferguson, you're actually trying to allude that you're Ancelotti rather than Ferguson, because obviously he's been Ancelotti has definitely done a decent job. Not too big a surprise. He's a world class manager, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say he's completely in the mix, in my opinion. I think he's helped them an awful lot. I mean, I remember, I think, I don't know what he actually won it or not, but for the sort of incredible job he did to save Palace. Who was it? Roy Hodgson
Roy
himself?
Hodgson?
Did
Yeah.
he actually get man of the season, manager of the season or not when he did that? Because it was such a resurgence from around January time or something, and then they were in deep trouble, and then he got very comfortably.
I think it was hard because he had didn't he come probably when Conte was the Chelsea's manager? Because the problem is we've had so many elite managers at the same time that whoever's been able to become the victor of the Premiership, that themselves being able to outgun other high quality tacticians has led them to be warranted as the manager of the season, whether it was Conte or Guardiola, and now it seems maybe Klopp.
Yeah, but I think it's almost fitting that we're talking about resurgences and people that have saved a club and things like that. I think Chris Wilder is a perfect example of that, because we've spoken previously about the fact that more often than not, when a team comes out of the playoffs, they tend to sort of know what to expect. That hard grittiness, that grit that they have to put in. And they tend to be the team that stays up at home. And Villa are languishing. Sheffield United, who came second. Did they come second? Yeah, they did.
Second. Norwich won the league.
Yes, they did, didn't they? They aren't just comfortable. They're technically a game in hand away from being fit, aren't they?
Yeah.
And you can say what you want about how they've done it, but they've actually played a lot of really good football. He's got a particular style. He's done this all without strikers.
Yeah, and to, to
But they're
support
very
your
hard
point
work.
as well. Yeah, and to support your point as well, Sheffield United were able to make some splendid signings.
Shrewd.
Berger from Genk. Yeah, this a player that a lot of Champions League clubs wanted as well after his performances for Genk in a tough Champions League group as well against Liverpool, Napoli, and against your guy Haaland. So he was able to give some great performances, and Sheffield United had an appeal towards a player, despite just being in the Premiership for 3 months after returning for after so many years, because obviously Neil Warnock has his period when he was Sheffield United's manager. Everyone has never, everyone from Sheffield, from the United side anyway, has never forgiven how they went down. They always hated the Tevez Mascherano situation. So for someone to just go to Sheffield United, it's not because of luck, it's because they believe in what Wilder is offering.
Yeah, I mean, but I'd argue in the same sentence, I don't really see what impact he's made though. I mean, when I'm thinking of their success, I mean, you've got to start the defense because it's been just ridiculously good. Isn't it? I mean, it's a
Yeah.
fancy football fan's dream to be honest with you. You know, you've got Lundstrom and George Baldock. Um, Egan, is that his name?
Mm.
He's been really really good. I can't remember what the other one is.
I probably have to go over the lineup myself, but
No,
it's just they're all so
I've
solid.
been so surprised and in awe of what they've been doing. I've just forgotten what some of their lineup is. I mean, I can tell you from a perspective of having a soft spot for Rangers, for example. I remember when Fleck played for Rangers and he had something about him, but I don't think he end up at Sheffield United a couple of years later and be doing what he's doing. So,
Yeah.
um,
Can can you hear me, Taz, really clearly? Because sometimes my mic, I think as well, my mic sometimes it's clear, then you can't hear me properly. Sometimes I can hear your point, but then I can't hear some of your wording.
I can hear you fine. Could very well just be your headphones, or we might find
Yeah,
out after
I
this
think it
recording
is.
whether I've got
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm
microphone issue.
anything.
If your headphones have been charged, for example, they might start playing up a little bit.
Yeah,
I
I
hope
think it's
you
my
can't see.
headphones. Yeah,
Um, but no, I mean they've just got a really, really, really good sort of team unit set up. They all work hard for each other, and they're all there for each other, and it stemmed from the management team. There's got an awful lot of commitment to the cause, and it's being reflected on the pitch right now. And without question, they've been punching well above their weight. Not being harsh,
yeah,
it's just one of those things you don't expect a club to come out of the championship and to compete like this. When it does happen, it is a rarity. There have been times when it has happened, but you don't expect it to happen. So when it does, it's fantastic, really. And you just have to look at the other teams that got promoted to see where they are. I mean, they're occupying two of the bottom three positions, aren't they? So, yeah, we should be able to keep up with what's going on with the league because that table's not changing at all. So,
yeah,
we should have just come into the call with
yeah.
a league memorized. Um, but yes, I mean, that's our first
Yeah.
realistic
Well,
pick.
yeah.
Um,
Also, as you suggested, as you rightly say, Sheffield United were second, and Norwich were by far they were worthy of being the top side, and Sheffield United were able to leapfrog Leeds in order to become the second side to get automatic promotion. So that also warrants your point why Chris Wilder deserves some plaudits. Furthermore,
I
the
mean,
team has
come on,
been so consistent.
I know, but you and I both know that Leeds, not for the first time, completely into it, and they actually tried bottling it again this season, but teams like Derby have just not capitalised, and Leeds have found a bit of recover the situation. I think if they do resume the season, um, they ought to sort it out. I think they're top, aren't they? So I
You should. I'll give you a great recommendation to the viewers. Sorry to interrupt. Amazon Prime has a great, fantastic documentary of Leeds season, last season, of their plight from almost getting automatic promotion. Then one of Taz's players that he really likes a lot, Daniel James, literally being at Leeds. He had this shirt. He actually posed with a Leeds shirt. He assumed that the deal was done. Swansea, his Hughes Jenkins, last second decided to not proceed with the deal, and you can see how emotional Daniel James was with his father. So that would give you and Russell Crowe, the actor, Gladiator, he actually is the narrator. So as this is why Taz is going on in great detail about Leeds having their up and down. Right.
um, imagine if he signed the video like that. No, I mean it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen what would be considered a sure signing, Ross Mourinho, Willian, cheeky get. You have to. Oh, I don't recall him being confirmed or anything like that. I didn't realise a medical confirmed you as a player. Yeah, let's
Or
move
how
on to
Chelsea were able to nab Rillian. Do you mean when Chelsea nabbed Rillian from
right
Tottenham?
under the noses of Spurs. Spurs had medical sorted and everything.
How about when you guys nabbed Mendieta? When you guys you got Diego Forlan off Middlesbrough? You guys remember that? Talking about Mourinho, we had Diego Forlan actually came to Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough were interested in signing him. Then Ferguson thought, I'm going to nab this guy instead. Or
I mean,
Berbatov, he was
I
gone
think
to Man
that
City.
that's probably why he had such a failed career at United. Because he'd already been infected by Borough. So things went wrong, and then he just couldn't get his mind back together. And he left United, got his head back together, and it all started improving. Thanks for clarifying what went wrong. But no, we need to move on to our second nominee. Well, some will say nominee, some will say likely winner. Jurgen Klopp. I'll let you fire away with your opinion first, 'cause I'm very
So,
kind of clear about what.
okay. So me and Taz, this is an interesting topic. The best way to describe Klopp, how amazing he has been, is I'm going to reference what me and Taz may have different views upon Manchester United's greatest side of the Premiership era. He believes the 99, 98, 1990 was the best. I believe the 2007, 2008, 2008, 2009 side was the best, and which Gary Neville also believes. And the reason why I want to reference that particular point is because that Man United side had literally world-class players or players performing to world-class elite level all over the pitch. A team that had great strength in defence, in reference to our Hall of Fame top 11, Rio Ferdinand and Vidic being a contender. They had great flair in attack, great solid midfield creativity, a great goalkeeper, great fullbacks. You can go on and on. And Liverpool are the closest thing to that Man United. And you could even argue that Liverpool have gone surpassed that Man United simply because of the points record? Or is that due to the fact that the managers around Klopp, the clubs around him, have just underperformed? This is why we're here to talk about the possibility that Liverpool could be better due to Klopp being such a good manager,
I
or
think
the other factor.
you basically just touched on my reason for having my reservations. Really, I mean, there's no question him and the side have been fantastic this season. I think anyone's going to begrudge them with the title. I think it's fair to say that Liverpool were far better last year than they were this year. When they were beating sides, they were pummeling them. This time around, a lot of scrapes, a lot of scrappy wins, and a lot of games where they maybe would have been, probably didn't even deserve to win. Maybe it could have been a draw. Maybe they even should have lost. They definitely should have lost against United at Old Trafford. So I was very lucky to get a win against Southampton, I think it was. One of
Against
the
Man
couple.
United, did you just say they shouldn't? Are you saying that Liverpool shouldn't have beaten you guys?
No,
But
no,
your goal was
at Old Trafford.
controversial.
At Old Trafford, they,
Yeah,
they,
your goal
they
was
were completely
controversial.
outplayed. They were completely outplayed at Old Trafford, and
Yeah.
they were lucky to get a draw.
Well,
But
your goal arguably shouldn't have stood. You did a foul on Roberto Firmino. It proceeded. So there's two sides to that argument as well.
no, perhaps. I mean, if you go, thing is, if you go down the you play better route, I did play better. Unfortunately, as we all know, results don't count.
Yeah.
So we have to assess it from that perspective as well. But I'm sure we've discussed this and we've agreed on this as well, haven't we? It's the fact that there've just been so many woeful performances around them. Like with the fact that Man City buy a whole squad, they should not be as bad as they've been. If they lose the league, fair enough. It was a close battle, but they've only been losing by a couple of points. The kind of deficit they were last year, and if it was a lower point, that's probably how much they would have lost. Because almost every player they have got a better squad, haven't they? Got a better first team. I said almost, like untouchable, to be honest. But that's the thing. I mean, it's harder to be quite as impressed this season as you were last season, based purely on the fact that others have failed. And the fact that Chelsea maybe should have stayed further ahead, but they kept on giving United chances, and United kept failing. It's just constant mistake after mistake after mistake, failings after failings. It's the only reason I've got reservations. I don't think you can sort of discard or completely forget about a manager who's won you the title, certainly the first one in 30 odd years. When you're talking about who has managed the team the best, or who managed their team the best, I think it has to be Liverpool. Because they had absolutely no right. That they've literally surpassed all expectations, and they're still there. It's like what Leicester did in 2016. They surpassed all expectations, and they wouldn't budge, and then they went and won the whole thing. I mean, it's for Liverpool. They've been solid enough. They've not been as impressive as they were last year, and they've just been failing all around them. It's just it's harder to sort of. I know he's going to go to him if they do complete the season. Can't really begrudge him. You can't say he's done a good job, but I think he was so much better last year. And also no avail, of course, last year. But I don't know. It's such a difficult one. It's a difficult
Here's
one.
I've got another dilemma for you then. It's good to reference that particular match that Man United had with Liverpool. If Man United's match, that's an example of when Liverpool were perhaps lucky. I'll give you another example where using Man United to counter, playing devil's advocate here, Liverpool, Man United versus Sheffield United. Sheffield United had the ethics of working hard, outdid Man United initially, but then you could say tactically, Wilder was perhaps unprepared for Man United's work ethic of how Man United were able to turn a 2-0 down to 3-2. But then they still managed to get the 3-3 draw at the end.
It was a mini barrage. You have to sometimes accept that. Yeah, but the thing is, you talk about work ethic. Well, the old United, who may have messed up and had a 2-0 deficit back, and as we did, the 3-2 scoreline in our favour, would have held on or extended that lead. But the current United sadly let that go as well. and that says that our mentality is still on the way up, but nowhere near yet. And that there's, either stage strong or they regather their their composure and really got it together in the process.
Yeah.
So so yeah, I mean, I think both it's both a compliment to Sheffield
But
United and
it's
sort of.
also quite bad though. It's because it's bad man. You can say it's bad man management by Wilder. Not when you can see that the other side is like attacking relentlessly. You have to perhaps change your approach. Be a bit more tactical. Let the be a bit more defensive. Cover your space a lot more. Or there's the other factor that that Sheffield United tired themselves out to the extent that they could not handle Man United's barrage.
We also have to respect that they don't have the same strength and depth that the sides have got. And even if we basically say United have a bigger squad, and they've Sheffield. If you look at their front, their strikers. You've got McGoldrick, who just really fans' favourite. He just struggles to score. Bernie, he's been grabbing a couple of goals. But these aren't the most clinical players. A lot of the points that they've been getting are coming from the midfield, and a lot of the points that they're gaining or saving are coming from their defenders and their goalie, who I can confirm is um, holding off the teams, and that's ultimately what's been getting them their points. Can you imagine what they'd be like if they had a really, really good striker, or just a really solid striker? I mean, like we make fun of Joe Linton, for example, at Newcastle. Imagine what Sam Maximan would be like a side like Sheffield United right now, because he's doing pretty well, I think.
Could you? And I'll ask you another question on talking about Sheffield United's attack. They spent over 30 million this summer on two signings of Moussa from Bournemouth and McBurney for £20 million from Swansea. So you could also, is that perhaps, it's working, by the way, the whole tactics, and I'm not here to necessarily have a go against Wilder, because I think Moussa started really well. He was a shadow of himself that he is right now compared to his Bournemouth days.
Mm-hmm.
Bournemouth went for a big signing and just didn't work. Do you think perhaps you can either credit Sheffield United's recruitment to have these guys that work for the team in order to elevate themselves to the fifth spot, regardless if they're not always scoring? Or would you say that he needs to work on how to get the best out of his forwards, considering that if he kept the players that he had that earned the championship promotion, like McGoldrick, would they be in the same league position that they are in now?
Well, I'd be keen to know. Unfortunately, I don't know the stats. I'd be keen to know how many signings they made in the summer, and indeed how many, if any, they made in January. Because if those two were the signings that they made, then they've had mixed fortunes with them, let's say. But it shows to me that they didn't have a complete squad overhaul, which sounds like, I guess you could say, Villa sort of did, didn't they? Granted, as some of them were loan signings, and then they lost them, Fanzebe and Tammy Abraham, of course, both on loan from United and Chelsea, but they went back to those clubs. But Villa still bought quite a few players in, didn't they? So a complete squad overhaul can give you strength and depth, but it can also hamper you and just a whole bunch of players trying to get team chemistry together when you don't actually know your first 11. Whereas when you come up and you make a few amendments, you've got a few players that you might necessarily import because you can bring your first team. But generally speaking.
Like Norwich. No, as you said, it's the two opposite spectrum, Norwich and Aston Villa.
Yeah, absolutely. Norwich didn't do too much, I guess you could say. Some might say they didn't do enough, but from a neutral perspective, I've quite enjoyed the way they've been trying to play. I mean, I know you're going to make fun of me because you and my mate have been making fun of me being a big fan of Pukki. But he started brilliantly, didn't he? He started on fire. But I mean, they've unearthed an absolute gem in Todd Campbell. He's been fantastic. He's 18 now, I think, isn't he? Oof. The guy started in the Premier League at 17. It's ridiculous. And he's just putting in those kind of performances. But yeah, I mean, you could argue maybe they didn't invest enough.
Cantwell against Trent Alexander was a fantastic duet against them for both of them on that particular side of the pitch. So great example by you.
Yeah, but maybe they just haven't done enough. It's very hard to find the right balance. What they say. You can't win anything with a bunch of kids, can you?
Well, yeah. The Pukki example is brilliant because even in the Euro qualifiers, I believe I have to see which particular opponent it was. It may have been Spain. He scored a winning goal for Finland to beat Spain to earn them vital 3 points, or was it qualification?
Where he scored, I don't know who it was against, but he scored in their final game. I don't think it was too difficult a game, but he scored one of the goals, which was obviously very decisive in them. But yeah, it was like a mini resurgence there, actually. He did score in maybe both ties over that international break.
And it was definitely against against a big opponent as well. So it was no coincidence that you did believe in this player. And like a certain guy at Man United now as well, some forwards that perform well at the Championship can perhaps then translate it to the Premiership, as has Tammy Abraham.
I mean, I do generally think he is good enough. The thing is, either his form has dramatically dipped or the quality of service has gone down big time. They fight so well, it's very easy to forget that they beat City on home turf as well, didn't they? And what a good match, what a good game that was. His form's just, and that's the thing, they're not getting enough from around the rest of the field. Whereas Sheffield United, you could argue their forwards aren't doing it. They're getting so many goals from their midfield, and sometimes from their defenders as well. The defenders are actually playing a decent tallies for themselves. So it's important to have the right kind of balance. But yeah, we are straying. We need to. I guess we'll keep this a short video. We need to decide. You had to pick right now. Who would you pick?
I would like to admit, I always do this, Tad. Interrupt. There's actually there's actually a manager I did actually just. It came into my head during our discussion before, when I thought we'd talk a bit more about Klopp. Brendan Rodgers, a fantastic manager that started the season well. However, the reason why he's not in contention is because, And what was the game that was the major factor? First, it was Man City, when Man City had that 3-1 victory against them at the Etihad, or maybe 2-1, sorry. But then Liverpool went to Leicester and destroyed them at Leicester, and they have not been the same since. And that is a credit to Klopp. They just came back from the World Club Cup. When they had to play so many ridiculously amount of games, that's another factor that helps Klopp. They had to play their reserves, their academy products against Aston Villa in the League Cup, and that's probably why Aston Villa got through to the final in the first place. Anyways, Liverpool were in the position where they had so many games, perhaps were jet lagged, went to play Leicester, and they gave a phenomenal performance against the side that was seen as possible title contenders, when Man City were like going away. And now everyone is seeing Leicester's perhaps even Leicester, not only Chelsea, but Leicester could be caught by the likes of your side, Man United. And
But
I thought that's an important point to mention for Klopp's favour.
well, it's weird actually because they were actually starting a mini resurgence. They had their bad spell, and I said to you, I reckon they'll have their bad spell, but they're having it at the right time because they've got a big lead over third and fourth and fifth. Sorry, they're in third. They've got a big lead over fourth and fifth. But having their dip at the right time because they've got a big enough gap, and they've I just believe that when they got out of their dip, they would have started building momentum and finished strong enough to comfortably fourth. You didn't agree with that, but they have actually. We're actually starting to do that before games were obviously cancelled. Whereas United and Chelsea
Wasn't it
right
one
behind them were
victory?
just go for it.
It was one victory, right? Wasn't it just one victory
I think they might
against
have had
West Ham, I believe?
might have had
West Ham?
no. I think they beat Villa. I think they did back to back and
Yeah, Villa.
decent
Yeah, Villa.
decent victories. But I generally started thinking that I thought that was the start of their resurgence, the one I was expecting to see from them. And yeah,
And Didi was injured for a long time, and that's perhaps helps them as well for that.
well, that's it. I mean, that's where teams like City have far fewer excuses than they already do. Because when you're a side that basically buys a whole squad and has one good young English player in your setup, but you refuse to use him, and Phil Foden's a very good player. I said to you like 2 years ago, wow, this guy's a World Cup winner. This guy's really good when he plays. He has actually been scoring goals for City. How the hell is he going to get into that City side? And secondly, how is he going to do that if he's not given the proper opportunity to grow? And it's no surprise he's being brought on for token appearances. It's the same thing that happened with, not to the same level, of course, but Fred to an extent last season when he was actually part of a okay performing midfield. When United lost all their midfielders, along with McTominay and Pereira. And then as soon as Matic came back, he just got removed. And then we didn't see him for a very, very long time. Yeah, he got dropped. We didn't see him for a very long time. And when he's actually had a string of performances, a string of opportunities to prove himself, he had a chance to grow as well, as showcases his skill set and his battling and his energy and his passing. I didn't even know he could pass. Finding big gaps. No, it just Phil Foden. I really think he'll move. He hasn't got a choice. And whichever
David
side he
Silva's
goes
leaving.
to.
Silva's retiring. Well, not retiring, but he's leaving Man City.
Oh, come
They
on.
they can't
Yeah,
really
but
afford a new signing.
you know they're going to try. You know they're going to find a way. Just because they've been banned, I mean, they're going to just buy them. We all know that's not the case.
I hope so.
Well,
I want the best English sides possible. Man City, with especially Liverpool out, they could still be the side that wins the Champions League if it does resume the season. So I love every English side, no matter what my personal domestic views.
That's enough of a reason to. If that's a reason to ensure City don't win the Champions League and then the season, because there's no way they deserve to be in the mix. But
another manager we have to say, Nuno has been a great. Watford's Wolves manager has been fantastic. Initially a bad start because they had to get used to finally being Europa League, which they achieved after one season. After being one season being promoted, they got to the European spots in the Europa League. They had to play three games every 3 days. Their summer signings weren't great, and although the recent signings in January have been fantastic, including playing Olympiacos after they got Podence from Olympiacos, he's just been fantastic. They beat Tottenham recently at the new White Hart Lane Stadium. he's not in contention, but we have to mention that he's been brilliant,
Well, to be
barring the
honest with
first
you, I
half of
think
the
he
season.
probably would have been in contention if Wilder wasn't doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
Um,
And the same thing, Brendan Rodgers then as well. If he didn't have for the first
no,
3 months, Rodgers
no,
was
no,
the
no, no,
he
no,
was the guy.
no. Rogers, we've seen because we've seen what his side can do. And I think the only way they were going to sort of be in the mix is if they were miraculously challenging for the title. You've got
Mm.
two different levels of sort of managing here. You've got a side that's about to become Premier League champions, and you've got a side who's just shocked the whole world. But we need to sort of wrap it up. The only thing we can do, the only thing left for us to do is very quickly say, well, who would you pick as your manager of the season?
It's one of those things. It's like how you talked about Roy Hodgson. He did a miraculous job at Crystal Palace as he had done at Fulham. But it's just the fact that what Klopp was doing at Liverpool is mind blowing. Some people then it's led to people say points is just one season, can't always do this. Liverpool right now have got more points than some sides ended up to win the league. That is just mind blowing. They are so far ahead of the closest rivals, which is insane. 21 points ahead of Man City, who were the champions. They're so far ahead of every other opponent. Were unlucky in the Champions League, although wasn't unlucky. They were outgunned, but they are of such a high caliber domestically that they cannot be neglected, and it's unfair on Wilder. But Klopp is my choice.
Klopp's your
He's the
choice.
closest guy to Ferguson. Klopp.
I think in terms of performance as a manager, my vote would go to Wilder, but at the same time, I would say Klopp's going to win it. I think that's and one of those things where you can't really be mad if he wins it. You wouldn't really be. I'm sure Liverpool fans would probably be the only ones who sort of be furious if, say, Wilder won it instead of Klopp. But when they sat down and thought about it, they surely have to appreciate what was going on. And like I said, I felt like Liverpool weren't quite as good as they were last season. What if City were performing as solidly as Liverpool have? Do you think Liverpool would have buckled again? I think they might have done, yeah. Well, I mean, that's a wrong word to use. They didn't buckle last year. It was just one of those epic head-to-heads that just went down to the wire. The City know all about those because the team before he retired. Um, and we all know what happened there. But yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. I think Wilder's probably deserved it for what he's achieved. I think he's achieved more. He's got more out of his team. But ultimately, the success that Klopp is likely to give them if they do finish the season, going to give him. I think that's my opinion.
You can easily argue that for both managers' senses, like they did a lot more than they should have done, not because of their own abilities and of what the club's doing, it's because of the clubs around them. Lampard, Solskjaer, Mourinho or Pochettino, Arsenal's with Emery or Arteta, they've been very, very underachieved. They have done well, they have been very overwhelmingly bad in the sense that they have not capitalized on many, many opportunities and trying to reduce the gap. And that's including Wilder. Because Sheffield United wouldn't be close to the top four if Man United and Tottenham were able to be more consistent. But that's not to go against Wilder or Klopp by any means. It's just to show that there are other factors that plays along for both sides.
Well, the reason they're so close is because other teams above them have been failing. At the same time, the reason they're still there is because they keep grinding out results. And it's to say the word grind is not funny. They've just got so much grit and determination to never give up, like the United game. That was an example of that. 2-0 lead, probably deserved to win the whole match. United found a way of just, I don't know how they did it, but they came back. But then both United's inability to finish the game off, and as well as United's grit and determination to find something, and they got a point out of it. So
Yeah.
I think we've made our decision. Sean's gone Klopp all the way. I've gone with Wilder for me, but Klopp will win it. And I guess I do like the guy, and you know, it is hard.
Yeah.
Premier League, so
Another factor to praise Wilder is that, you know, you're talking about sides that are overproducing. We can talk about Leicester easily. You can look at Aston Villa under Martin O'Neill. They were good for a while and they tailed off by around March. It didn't look like Sheffield United were going to tail off, or Ian Holloway's Blackpool that started fantastic, and then they just tailed.
Yeah.
Blackpool's probably more of a Norwich example, to be honest, because Norwich started brilliantly as well, beating Man City, drawing with Chelsea, so probably neglect that point I just made.
Yeah, well, we've obviously made our decision. We'll just conclude with one final statement, I guess. But for me, I mean, it's when you come up from, when you get promoted, it's important to sort of make shrewd things and not go too far. But really enjoyable as a fan to sort of see positive approach, positive football. You also have to be sensible in the way you do that, because strength-wise, you're not going to have the same strength that the other side of the body will have. So you need to try playing the right way as well, not just playing the most positive way possible. And that's probably why Blackpool went down. Great to watch, but when they were just going all out attack and nothing else, and they don't have the strength in depth to actually sort of deal with that. And Norwich, I feel, are going to probably go down for the very same reason. Villa have grounded out a little bit more. They're at risk, though. I mean, you've got to think they might be in the mix as well. Yeah. So this is a manager of the season video. So we're gonna finish with that. Obviously, Sean's gone with Klopp. I've gone with Wilder, but I think Klopp's going to win it. So I think that's probably a good way to finish this video. What are your thoughts? Who do you think should win it if the season does resume? Put in the comments. Please subscribe. Yeah, we might. Oh God, he's doing it again. I should just.
No, it's not going to be no sports. It's not sports, so everyone's viewing this on Saturday. We're going to have an interesting topic on Saturday, but me and Taz were talking about it beforehand. Well, no matter what political party you follow, no matter what you believe in terms of politics, he's still a human being, and he's led us. Did some firm decisions, and we both were very happy that he actually finally did it. And it was a very difficult decision for him to do. Unfortunately, on Friday, the health secretary, have been diagnosed as being positive with the unfortunate pandemic of
health secretary as well. Whitty?
Yeah.
No way.
So we want to send our best wishes to everyone to make a speedy recovery. Hopefully, you even get to watch us. Please, thank you for all the efforts you're doing, because everyone complaining that you guys didn't act on time. People from all political parties are doing very well. People from all political parties are working really hard. Everyone's working hard, but at the same time, socialists of Spain have been criticized. The so-called white rings of conservatives have been criticized. It's not what political identity you are. It's a global pandemic where everyone's suffering. We need to be united, and please get better very soon, Boris. Yeah, and everybody, please try staying at home as you can. Only go necessary. Okay, that's quite a serious note to end on. Sean and I will be back in the next video. Until then, however, take it easy, everyone. See you later.